Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. I am Kevin Walsh. I am joined by Joe Lisi here on the opening day of NFL free agency. Now, you may be seeing this at different times than Joe and I are talking, so it's good to let you know we're right now a little bit before 2 p.m. on the East Coast with plenty of moves happening. Joe, I want to go right into some recent news for you and I, which is Tyler Lindenbaum getting a 3-year, $81 million deal to go from Baltimore to Vegas. I think you and I are going to spend quite a bit of time talking about the inverse where Max Crosby goes from Vegas to Baltimore. But this is a Raiders team. We know they have the first overall pick. They now have the 14th pick from that Crosby trade, and they pay well above the prior center rate to bring Linderbaum to Vegas. What do you make of this outlook for not just, we assume, Mendoza at first overall, but last year's top 6 choice in Ashton Genty?
I think it's a great choice and a great signing, Kevin. I think when you look at building teams and we look at the success of certain teams, you could take a look at Chicago, the elevation and progression of Caleb Williams in year number 2 with Ben Johnson. They solidified the offensive line first. That opened up the rushing attack, and then they were able to open up the passing game. And when you have a young quarterback like Fernando Mendoza learning a new scheme, you solidify the center, you solidify the offensive line first and build it out. And that's a great signing for them. We'll see if it could get Ashton Genty going, but I love the signing overall in the free agent market.
The Raiders are a team who has a lot to spend, but they are looking to spend it, I feel, Joe, to make sure that they have an appropriate infrastructure for their soon-to-be franchise quarterback. And Linderbaum goes a long way in doing something like that. I anticipate at 14th overall, we will see Las Vegas look to address offense again, whether that be one of these wide receivers, Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate. I know you're a big fan of Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State, whether that be Kenyon Sadiq, who had that incredible combine, of course, the tight end out of Oregon, or if there's an offensive lineman on the board that they really like. I think that is where Las Vegas will go. It is tough to sit here in March and know, hey, is this a surprise team? We talk, hey, whoa, they made a wild card, right? Because the defense projects to be very bad. But, Joe, this offense should be miles better. Adding in, another year of development for Genty and hopefully a healthy season for Brock Bowers.
Yeah, as long as they're healthy, Kev, I think they can be competitive. Now, with Kubiak at the helm, it comes down to, does Mendoza start from week number 1 if he is the number 1 overall selection? How quickly can they get him up to speed? Or do they wait to the middle part of the season and go with a backup quarterback and then put him in and implement that type of philosophy? We disagree on the quarterback development. I think you throw Mendoza in right from week number 1. He gets that game experience, and then he's ready for year number 2. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, can you protect him? Can you run the football effectively? And can they bolster up the defense in the draft? If they can do that, I don't think 7 or 8 wins are out of the realm of possibility. As long as Brock Bowers is in that lineup, he is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And again, if they can add a complimentary receiver like Jordan Tyson or a Tate in the draft, they have speed on the outside. With Kubiak's offensive scheme, they could have effectiveness right from the get-go in week number 1.
You and I do go back and forth on the notion of, throw a guy into the fire or not. I anticipate Mendoza will be the week 1 starter, but you're right. Vegas has had some conversations about, should we do that? That's a healthy organization, in my opinion, that they are not demanding he start week 1. They're going to say, hey, let's see how we feel about this at the minimum, Joe, because you mentioned 7-8 wins. If that's what the ceiling of this team is, and that probably, Joe, we think about all win totals, you'd probably get a pretty good payday if you bet Las Vegas to win 8 games right now. If they cost themselves a win or 2, right? by giving Mendoza an extra 4 or 5 weeks at the beginning of the season. I don't think that's a bad thing, right? Just to make sure that if that's how they view the situation, if they want that ground floor set, I think there's a lot of interest there. The big deal, this came before free agency, a trade that was seemingly inevitable. It involved the two teams that we are talking about, right? Las Vegas and Baltimore. But it was Max Crosby being traded for multiple first-round draft picks, including, as we just said, the 14th overall selection, to bring him to this Baltimore Ravens team that is trying to cash in on a Super Bowl or bust mantra and a Super Bowl or bust level roster that adds another high-end contributor. Joe, some people thought this was a lot that Baltimore gave up. What was your reaction?
Well, I love Max Crosby, Kevin, but do we feel that Baltimore right here, right now, is just one player away potentially from being a Super Bowl contender? And I'm not so sure. Forget about the offense for a second. Well, look at the defense. The defense at times got abused and by mediocre offenses in the conference. And Max Crosby definitely solidifies the front seven, right? We know that they want to run the football with Derrick Henry. As long as Lamar is healthy, they can put up points. But the problem still remains. I don't know from an identity perspective, Max Crosby elevates them to all of a sudden being now the best team in the AFC. I just don't see it. I think he's definitely an added piece. I still think they need wide receiver help. And again, Lamar Jackson has to stay healthy for basically 17 games and the playoffs. If you're telling me that's the case, then yeah, they can make a run. But again, I'm just not buying into it. I think it'll help the defense. But again, elevating them to a top 5 unit, I just don't see it right here, right now.
I think Max Crosby is one of the best edge rushers in the league. He's also incredible against the run. And for me with Baltimore, they did pay a big price, to be very clear. But that price won't feel as big if they meet their expectations in 2027. I saw some people, Joe, saying, man, if they miss the playoffs again, if Baltimore misses the playoffs again, we might have more issues than where their 2027 draft picks lands. This is a team who year in and year out, Joe, are booked as Super Bowl favorites. We've seen Super Bowl odds move a little bit. I'm still somewhat surprised Baltimore hasn't moved even shorter than they are right now, because it's a Ravens team who we know with Lamar Jackson is typically booked anywhere they play, at Buffalo, at Kansas City, much less at home, as favorites in those football games. I think it's only a matter of time before we see Baltimore move back to a position like that. They've given this brand new regime, it feels like a good amount to work with, right? And getting a guy like Crosby, you have Kyle Hamilton on the back end here. I think Baltimore is positioned to take their usual spot, Joe, as AFC favorites. It doesn't mean they're going to cash in on it. They've yet to cash in on it, right? But this is where we always see the Ravens end up, as the favorites in that conference, if not the entire league. And Crosby only furthers that. And there was talk about this team, they're going to draft a wide receiver at 14. Again? Really? Another round 1 wide receiver that, are we that excited about here? I'm excited about what Crosby could be in Baltimore. They did not have themselves a real prolific edge rusher on that side of the ball. And I, Joe, think it's very exciting about what can Max Crosby be in a winning situation, right? I mean,
yeah,
just simply put, it makes the Myles Garrett season so impressive. There are more pass rush opportunities when your team's in front, right? A little bit easier to get after the quarterback when you're playing in that type of situation. So it's going to certainly be something that we lock onto. We're going to take our first break here. We come back, though. We mentioned the Super Bowl outright market. I told you Seattle wasn't going to stay the favorite for long. Not even favorites, actually, in their own division. And how not only the LA Rams movement relates to Seattle, but how it, of course, relates to the Kansas City Chiefs, who have had quite a busy offseason already. That is next, and it's right here on Pro Football Today. Here on Pro Football Today, we just talked a little bit about Max Crosby and the big deal that sends him to Baltimore. But Joe, a move that really solidified a shift in Super Bowl favorite status was Trent McDuffie going from Kansas City, the young cornerback, to LA. He has since found himself with a brand new record breaking extension as a member of the Rams. They've actually continued to pick off another Chiefs cornerback within their ranks here. On the Rams side of this, Joe, how do you feel about the move?
Very good. Think about the Rams at the second part of the season, Kev, right? First part of the season, we were hailing this defense as potentially one of the best in the NFL. In the second half of the season, they got abused early and often, especially as it relates to the passing attack. McDuffie is a lockdown corner. He can play bump and run coverage, man to man. He's great in run support as well. And he's opportunistic, always around the football. So if LA is going to make that next step to potentially win an NFC championship and get back to the Super Bowl, they need a healthy McDuffie. I think it's a great signing for them. I think he elevates this defense now that had some concerns. I thought they were a little suspect in the secondary against better competition. We saw Detroit, we saw Seattle abuse them in the passing attack. McDuffie solidifies this defense to now, if this offense can hum, they're going to be right there in the NFC, Kev.
So it's tough for me. The Rams are obviously going to be in the mix, but to pay, Joe, that was not a cheap Trent McDuffie, right? I don't think there was a discount in, hey, we have to pay him too. I mean, they paid him, again, record breaking money and had to part ways with a first round draft pick and a little bit more on top of that. I don't think it was a great deal, right? We'll get to the Kansas City side of it. I think everything is being covered with who cares? The Rams are going to be set up to win at a really high level. I think it's on the board, at least, Joe, that the Rams could almost, have missed their moment. I am not going to forget that last season, one of the reasons you were able to get pretty good preseason numbers on Los Angeles was concern around Matthew Stafford's health. Stafford had a fully healthy season. I don't think that means those concerns go away. I know they do in the market, right? I know they do in a lot of people's analysis. I think that creates vulnerability. And I from a booking perspective, Los Angeles as the favorites makes sense. I am not going to sit here and tell you the books are out of their mind, but it's 7-1. Not that people are running to bet, Super Bowl futures in March, but Joe, just to give us a frame of reference, that's a lunacy bet to me for Los Angeles right now. They are very talented, but I'm not sure we now have the Chiefs secondary, right? Is a fix enough? One, and I don't know if the offense, first of all, will be able to stay healthy, but also, Joe, they were somewhat historic last year. I mean, it was a prolific offense. Stafford getting worse, not better, is the favorite in my opinion. So for Los Angeles, very, very talented. I am not waving the flag as much as others are that this is some grand slam situation. They might as well already send the Lombardi trophy to LA.
No, I'm with you on that. And again, did they catch lightning in a bottle with Stafford? And what I mean by that is because you and I, in the offseason last year at this time, were very hesitant due to the neck concerns, right? It's almost, they could pop up at any given time. Just because he went through a 17-game regular season in the playoffs doesn't mean he can't aggravate it at some point in the offseason or leading up, to a playoff run. That's always on the table. But when you look at this team, it's basically set up for this season, right? Meaning the McDuffie signing isn't for, 2-3 years down the road. McDuffie signing this year is, we need him as the cherry on top to potentially win an NFC championship. And if we can't get there this year, then we'll blow it up, or then we'll have a secondary option. So that's the way I look at it. Do I buy into LA being the legitimate contender? Yeah, I think they're a very good team. But with you, I'm not banking on right here, right now in the month of March, that I'm running to the window to bet Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. Let's not forget, San Francisco looks to be healthier. We don't know about Philadelphia, the moves that they're going to make, right? With new OC and DC, there's going to be new offense and defensive philosophies around. So my point is, yes, on paper, LA is the team, and they made this move, and now they're at 7-1. But that doesn't mean by any stretch they're a slam dunk to be the NFC Championship, title winners at the end of the year. I'm a little hesitant on that.
On the KC side, we'll talk about Ken Walker, obviously. But just with the McDuffie deal, I can't sit here and say the Rams paid a ton and then not like it for Kansas City. I think they did very well for themselves, Joe, in this trade, right? They probably were given an offer for a guy they were hesitant to pay at the price, and they couldn't pass it up. But it doesn't mean that Kansas City is closer to winning a Super Bowl this year. And I think that people need to understand that. The Kansas City Chiefs have a lot of question marks. The defense last year underwhelmed us. I have not seen any news yet that tells me it's going to be markedly better, right? The offense gets Travis Kelce back. Again, we're going to give that the time it deserves. We're going to give Walker the time it deserves. But Travis Kelce is not Travis Kelce. Rashee Rice is not reliable. We don't know if Rashee Rice is going to be suspended again. And Patrick Mahomes is off a torn ACL and could be out for the beginning of the season. Do I think the Chiefs are in a Super Bowl within the next 3 years? It's a good bet. But I don't think that means the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl next year, Joe.
No, I mean, I think it's a great point, Kevin. I'm with you that we talked about offensive philosophy. You have the Ferraris in the garage and you failed to utilize them. They had speed on the outside throughout the year last year and didn't take advantage of that. With Eric Bieniemy now back calling plays, does that change? Only time will tell. I'll just say this about the signing of Kenneth Walker. It is an immediate upgrade to an inconsistent rushing attack with Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. So I like the signing of Walker. It'll help them.
Yeah, we'll get a little bit more into Kenneth Walker, some news around the running back position elsewhere we'll talk about next. Back with you here on Sports Grid. So Kansas City made a huge move to trade Trent McDuffie. They got some good news, I think, for their organization that Travis Kelce was going to be back. You would assume this is the last ride. Kelsey's been considering retiring, I think, too long for this not to be that, but who knows? And then, of course, the Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker, now is a Kansas City Chief. Joe, how do you feel about Walker and Kelsey back and joining Kansas City?
Well, I mean, it's good to have a legitimate, pure number one. I told you throughout the regular season last year with Kareem Hunt, he was a good running back, but certainly not a workhorse that could take a game over. And I understand he put up numbers, but for a majority of the season, Pat Mahomes was the leading rusher for that offense. And that cannot be in 2026 if they're going to make an AFC championship run. We saw Kenneth Walker take the Super Bowl over against the New England Patriots. He's a bell cow type of running back that could also catch the football out of the backfield. And again, he's a young kid. So he's at the pinnacle of his career. And if Kansas City utilizes him correctly, he could have a great 3 to 4 year run, similar to what we saw back in the day with Le'Veon Bell with the Steelers. So let's see how it plays out. I mean, Kelsey just brings that veteran leadership into the locker room, Kev. Is he the same player that he was 3 or 4 seasons ago? No, but he is still a security blanket for Pat Mahomes. And when the game is on the line, they still find their way and their magic, especially at the goal line. So again, am I expecting a breakout year out of Travis Kelce anywhere near, 700 to 1,000 yards this year? No, but in a playoff type of push, he's going to be that veteran that Pat Mahomes looks to.
For Kelsey, it just means that storied career, soon to be, I think, first ballot Hall of Famer, I think.
Absolutely.
Then again, who knows with these things, right? But we would think, Joe, it's not done yet. And that's a big story in of itself. Ken Walker is a huge upgrade for Kansas City. I just don't know if they had to do something. Again, I just hesitate on the notion that Ken Walker's biggest contributions to this team will be this year, Joe, as opposed to potentially next year. We do not know if Pat Mahomes will be playing week number 1. We just don't. Can I ask you this, Joe, just to bring the draft in a little bit now? Because there's a Travis Etienne to New Orleans story that comes out as well. And again, I want to give Travis his own moment. Pick 8, New Orleans, running back. Pick 9, Kansas City, running back. Would you agree that those teams are reading the tea leaves and they know we can't draft Jeremiah Love? He will be gone by the time we would be coming up to the podium.
I think that's, definitely a possibility when we talked about the interest from John Harbaugh and the New York Giants, right? That he could be potentially a top 5 pick. And when you see that with the Saints at 8 and Kansas City at 9, knowing that they had to significantly upgrade their rushing attack, they went with veteran running backs. I mean, Travis Etienne had a breakout year last year. It's a main reason why Tank Bigsby was shipped off to Philadelphia, because of Cohen's ability and just love for Travis Etienne, not just in the rushing attack, but with the passing game as well. And when you look at just big picture and what Kenneth Walker was able to do in the Super Bowl, if you're Kansas City, you cannot roll the dice and wait for Jeremiah Love to fall to you at number 9. It just can't happen. They took a shot. They had the ability to get a primetime player, a Super Bowl MVP, and they took their opportunity. And to your point, it's a significant upgrade to where they were the past couple of years. Think about all the wide receiver talent that Kansas City has had. Pure number ones, They never had a number 1 running back, Kevin. When was the last time they had a pure number 1 running back? You might have to go back to the days of Priest Holmes. I mean, this is now an offense that can rely on Kenneth Walker 20 to 25 carries a game, just like Derrick Henry potentially.
Yeah, they certainly could, right? I mean, Walker was, able to have a pretty legitimate workload. We know in the postseason after the Zach Charbonnet interview, injury, excuse me. I just want to kind of drive home the point again, because free agency, we've said this is going to inform the draft, and things were trending this way already, but I think now seem very obvious that the floor for Jeremiah Love is Washington at 7. I don't think we come up to a situation where the Saints are on the clock at 8 and they're like, oh, we could have had Jeremiah Love, or Kansas City is on the clock at 9. And it's like, wow, we could have saved a ton of money and was also drafted a better player. That's not what's going to happen here. Walker is, Love looks to be a lock to be a top 7 draft pick come April. Let's talk about ETN to New Orleans, also Algier to Arizona, and the evolving running back market on Pro Football Today. Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. We're going to talk some QBs in just a moment. Miami, Indianapolis, Atlanta, all in the news. But Joey, running backs, I want your thoughts. Travis Etienne lands in New Orleans. Some chatter that maybe Alvin Kamara could retire. I know one of your all-time favorites. James Conner back in Arizona, and Tyler Algier will be joining him in the desert. What do you think about these two running back moves?
I like them. I mean, Algier obviously is a very physical runner paired with Bijan Robinson. I think James Conner took a price cut to potentially return to Arizona. So as long as he's 100% healthy from the ACL, I think they could have a dynamic 1-2 punch, but they need to significantly upgrade the offensive line. They were absolutely atrocious in run blocking last year, Kev. They were the worst rushing attack in the NFL. And they need to change that in order to have success. For Travis Etienne, and we talked about the emergence of Tyler Shuck in the passing attack last year and how Kellen Moore elevated this team. They needed a primetime running back, and Travis Etienne now looks like that running back that they drafted, not New Orleans, but obviously Jacksonville, out of Clemson, right? I mean, we were amazed about his durability. We were amazed about the productivity in Liam Cohen's offense last year. And now with Kellen Moore, who we know wants to run the football, when Kellen Moore's offense has success, dating back to, the Chargers and obviously the Eagles, he runs the football effectively. And so now you upgrade that. You have a second-year starter in Tyler Shuck. We'll see if they could still, upgrade the wide receivers in the draft and free agency. But Travis Etienne brings this team now to the potentially next level where I think they could actually compete for an NFC South title.
Well, listen, anyone can compete for an NFC South title. It's the
Well,
NFC
true.
South. But I think Travis Etienne showed last year that, he's a talented running back. I don't know that I love New Orleans spending real money on the position. I'm not saying I'm surprised by it. Kellen Moore's finest season was with the, Saquon Barkley record breaking season. So I'm sure he wanted to upgrade that position. But this is a team who doesn't come with a ton of financial flexibility. And I just wonder if they should have tried to find a way to get cheaper production, or trust Kellen Moore, right, to manufacture some production at just a more cost effective price. What I would say, though, betting wise, when it's September, October, it'll be a lot easier to figure out Travis Etienne props than it will be whatever's going on in Arizona. James Conner and Tyler Algier feel like two beats of the same drum. I don't know who's stealing touchdowns from the other. The whole thing sounds like a bit of a mess. Let's go to the quarterback position, though, Joe, because as everybody knows, you're a Dolphin fan.
Mm.
And yeah, you live and die with this organization. When news hits, you're first to it. Tua Tagovailoa released by the Miami Dolphins. What do you make of this story?
No, I mean, they trim the fat and they're moving and looking to run lean. And they signed, I believe, Malik Willis, or that's the plan to potentially have a bridge quarterback with Jeff Hafley. Hafley knows him from his days in Green Bay. But again, Tua was never the option. Forget the concussions right now. Just look at the play last year when he was healthy. He can't push the football down the field vertically anymore. He's lost his fastball. The arm strength isn't there. He can't get the football out in a quick type of time frame. He needs multiple seconds and a clean pocket. That's not today's NFL, Kevin. And again, with Atlanta, we wish him the best. But when you look at Miami's offense and the team overall, they're in a complete rebuild. Better to ship him off now sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think ultimately the dead cap for Miami is fine because they should. I at least thought initially, Joe, that they were going to project to be bad, right? And that would be okay. And you kind of deal with it and roll with the punches. I don't know what this team is doing. I mean, I just don't know what this team is doing. I mean,
What
the
do you,
amount of NFL teams, there's just does no team have the guts to be bad? I mean, really. Where
stop
does
with the
this team get
senses.
off paying
Come on,
Malik
go ahead.
Willis? No, really. No,
Come
really.
on. Come on.
45 million guaranteed for Malik Willis. This team should be out there right now starting Quinn Ewers in week number 1.
Stop,
No,
Kevin. Come
really.
on. Come
Why?
on.
For what?
First of
Bottom
all,
out.
we
Oh,
know how
7-win Malik. How so exciting. Oh, anybody who's ever played for the Packers, I heard they signed Willis after Brett Favre turned him down. I heard they were putting in calls to Aaron Rodgers. This is embarrassing.
it's not embarrassing. It's
It is.
embarrassing as no. Here's the thing, and is Willis an upgrade from Tua? Absolutely, I would take Malik Willis over
Maybe.
Tua in a heartbeat. Yeah,
Maybe.
but again,
You don't even know
Kevin,
that for sure.
we know that you have a problem with signing Malik Willis to the price tag, but this was
Sure.
started years ago with the Daniel Jones situation with the Giants. He caused the elevation of the quarterback market to the point where we're paying garbage quarterbacks 50 and $60 million over the course of 2 or 3 seasons. So let's not start. We know that the market for free agent quarterbacks is extremely high, right? Miami doesn't want to be a 2-win football team. What's the guarantee that you're
Why
going to get
not?
the quarterback? Well, what's the guarantee you're going to get the quarterback of the future then? Right?
Well,
Is
is
it
it
going to be
more
Arch
likely?
Manning? Is it going to be
Hold on, is it
somebody
more
else?
likely that you get the quarterback of the future with the first pick or with the 13th pick?
Here's the thing: Fernando Mendoza is a good pick, right? Is he? And I know you and I differ on this, but
Might
to
be a
me,
star.
there's okay. Well, we differ. He's a good pick, and he's deserving of the number one overall pick in this year's draft. But in my opinion, he's certainly nowhere near where Jaden and Caleb were 2 years ago.
Yeah,
And
but
if
Joe,
that's
hold
what
on a
we're
second.
looking
Hold
at,
on, Joe. Hold on. If you have picked anything other than one, you basically can't take a quarterback in this year's class. Go back to the Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Drake May draft, right? You needed a top 3 pick in order to get one of those guys. If you were picking 4th, like the Giants were, you got shut out, right? Or if you were picking 7th or 8th, you end up with Michael Penix, who's going to be backing up Tua.
yeah, but that's an organizational. I mean, we haven't given Penix any amount of time, and to judge him on based off his body of work, it's just because he's more injury prone. When we're talking talent overall, and we're talking Michael Penix compared to some of the others that have come out in the top 15, you can't make that assessment, in my opinion. And Tyler Shuck was taken where? Outside the top 3, and he's a potential starter in year number 2. I mean, Jackson Dart was taken outside the top 5, and he's a starter in year number 2. So what are you talking about? You can't get your quarterback of the future. Why do you have to tank to get him?
Sure, you could get a quarterback there, but also I think the jury is still out on both Dart and Shuck. The reality, though, Joe, is when you're drafting inside the top 3, it's likelier that you're going to have that opportunity. And usually each draft class comes with its crown jewel. And the Miami Dolphins have the opportunity to take advantage of a situation where their fans shouldn't be asking them to win 5 to 8 games next year. Their fans should say, got Tua off the books, and it's time to be bad. Let's watch Arch Manning tape.
What's Arch Manning's a legitimate
CJ Carr.
layup?
CJ Carr could be special.
Okay. I see. You just got to bring the Notre Dame stuff back in, and you got to get
Darian Mensah, Lenoris Sellers, Dante Moore.
Yeah, they're all great, right? I mean, Mensah.
No, but what if one of them's great?
He lost 5 games in the ACC. Right, Lenoris Sellers was so great he didn't make the college football playoff. I mean, we're talking about great quarterbacks that have struggled in college.
And that's why Joe. That's why those guys went back to school to get better. That's why these guys went back to school to get better. And there's going to be a lot of excitement around these guys come next year. And the Miami Dolphins are going to have Malik Willis leading them to 7 wins for no reason. They're the Green Bay Packers in the South, and it's not exciting football. It's not a good time to be a Dolphin fan. Good thing you're not really a Dolphin fan. You're an LSU fan, pal. Yeah, draft Sam Levitt in the 3rd round. Baton Rouge Joey. Back right here on Sports Grid, and we talked a little bit about Tua and Malik Willis through the Miami Dolphins lens, but there is a very real Atlanta piece of this as they are heavily connected to Tua Tagovailoa as Michael Penix works his way back from another season-ending knee injury here. Joe, we can this to me isn't much about a debate or an opinion. I just think it's abundantly clear that if slash when Atlanta finalizes a deal with Tua, they are not bringing him in as a pure backup to Michael Penix. They are going to be looking for a quarterback competition this summer.
Yeah, it seems that way. And Stefanski, for some reason, always gets himself involved with these quarterback quandaries, right? He did it with Cleveland with the whole situation with Shador Sanders. And it's similar to now what we have with Michael Penix and now the signing of Tua. If you're asking me if I was the GM or I was the head coach right now, I would start Penix as long as he's healthy in a heartbeat over Tua. I'm sorry. With the weapons that they have, he's still a young quarterback with the veteran tutelage of Kevin Stefanski. He can elevate Penix's game to potentially where Michael Penix could be the face of the franchise for the next 5 or 6 seasons. Why you want to roll the dice with Tua, an aging arm, the concussion issues. They did this with Kirk Cousins and it didn't work out. Who's to say that it's definitely going to work out with Tua when he couldn't get the football to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on a consistent basis? Explain that to me. I just don't understand. We have a young quarterback with a live arm coming off an injury. Now you have the veteran coach, which I think was a significant upgrade from a philosophy standpoint from where both Arthur Smith and Raheem Morris were the past couple of seasons. And now you pull this move with Tua? What are we doing here? I mean, they are stuck in neutral, this organization, if they start Tua as the starting quarterback this year. 8 wins tops or bust. And that's why they just never get over the top, because they can't see the writing on the wall. Penix is the future of the franchise. And if you don't like him, at least trade him to somebody that could start him, because the kid has a future. It's amazing. The kid has a live arm, and you want to start a journeyman that couldn't even get a playoff win for Miami.
I think there's a lot of questions, Joe, around what you're saying around Michael Penix. I mean, he has a live arm. One, we don't know if Michael Penix is going to be ready to go to start the season. So that's a big piece of this situation. But Joe, the Atlanta regime has been cleaned out. There's no allegiances to Michael Penix, and I just don't think this is an operation that wants to tie themselves down to Penix. I don't think they're under the impression that Tua is going to win 14 games and become the saving grace. I just think they want a competition for Michael Penix. There's probably something to the lefty of it all, right? It probably is a little better to have that consistency. So those are some things to really keep your eyes on there. Joe, a really big piece of news coming out of San Francisco as Mike Evans, a likely future Hall of Famer who had spent his entire career in Tampa Bay, is now a San Francisco 49er. A big time move here for Kyle Shanahan and San Fran.
It is, right? It could potentially mean that Jawan Jennings is on the move and he's flushed out. He's a free agent, but you talk about a big body as long as he's healthy. Mike Evans is one of the most productive wide receivers in the NFL. Now he's broken down over the past couple of years with hamstring injuries, couldn't be in the lineup last year for a majority of the season with the broken collarbone. But it's it's sort of fitting that he goes to San Francisco with all the injuries that they've had, Kev. Right? I mean, Mike Evans can't stay healthy, so he goes to one of the most unhealthiest teams in the NFL in the 49ers. As long as Mike Evans could potentially play 14 to 17 games, he's an added addition and you're going to put up numbers with Brock Purdy at the helm.
I'm a little thrown by this,
Why?
Joe, in that
Why?
it's being labeled a 3-year deal. This is a guy who there were conversations of was he going to retire at the end of this season. So 3 years, like I don't think Mike Evans was itching to get out of Tampa Bay. I think it was going to take something significant to get him out of Tampa. That's ultimately what I think this is I think that he was given a deal that no team in their right mind would match. I don't think that's unfair. 3 years to a guy who was considering retirement is, I mean, that's just silly. And it's an injury-prone football team who just brought in an injury-prone wide receiver. I am sure whenever Mike Evans is actually out there and available for San Francisco, Joe, he will have the ability to produce because Mike Evans is a productive football player. He always has been. But a 33-year-old who is just contemplating retirement dealt with even more injuries this year. He's not had a season where his hamstring hasn't bothered him in half a decade. And you gave him a 3-year deal? It's no wonder he left Tampa Bay.